Hello, everyone. So we are going to do a live reaction to Rings of Power Season 2 trailer that just came out today. And then I'll probably go into some maybe predictions or theories or thoughts or whatever after. But we'll watch the trailer once for the live reaction, and then we'll talk about it. So I'm hoping you'll be able to see it here in a second, but let's go.
An evil, ancient and powerful, has returned.
Oh.
Prepare yourselves.
Okay.
He worms his way inside your mind.
That's what Sauron does.
The crest of him slithers in.
I think he has been here. I think he's been here among us all along.
Well, that's... Oh, he's got long hair now. August 29th. Okay, so a couple months away.
Every soul in
what
Middle
is
Earth is in peril.
Potential Balrog. Orcs licking blades. Darkness will bind them. The rings, well... They don't... Okay. What's his name? Arendir? Oh, the eagle! Oh, that's fun. I like that. The Isildur, because he's not dead.
Yes.
Oh, whoa. Or is that just... New Seasons is on August 29th. Okay. Alright. Well, let's go through this. I guess, well, first impressions. It looks better than the first one, and I say that, and then I feel like there's more hype behind the second one. At least for me personally, the first season, the first teaser didn't really hype me. I was like cautiously optimistic about the first season, and then we got what we got, and I didn't really wasn't a huge fan of the first season for multiple different reasons, which, if you're interested, on YouTube I do have a playlist of my reviews for each individual episode if you're interested in that. But I don't know, this one, it seems like there's more action. It seems like they're speeding things up and just going right into the major event, which is good. But now, here, let's go over this bit by bit.
An evil, ancient and powerful, has returned.
Okay, so I don't know what this swamp monster is, but I like it. An ancient evil has returned. So they could be they're trying to, I think what they're doing here is they're trying to imply that he's referring to Sauron, or which I think is actually what he's referring to. I have a feeling that people are going to assume that that he's talking about the Balrog, which could be the case, but I feel like he is actually referring to Sauron here, in that if they're following the lore, just before, when Sauron attacks the elves in Eregion, the dwarves do show up to help, though they are too late. So that speech here,
Ancient and powerful, has returned.
This could be in reference to an ancient evil has returned, Sauron is back, dwarves, we must go help our elven allies. That could be what's happening here. But it could just be in reference to the Balrog as well. I have no idea what this is. This could be a reference to something and I'm just forgetting about it. It could just be like Mirkwoody, like dark magic, which very well. This I like. So we see oh, you might not be able to see it. Well, there's one up here. We see a spirit here, and then I don't think you can see the one on the right here, but we got some potential Barrow Wights, or at least undead, which, well, although they wouldn't be the Barrow, well, I don't know how Amazon's gonna deal with that, but it's not, I don't think it's technically the Barrow Downs, because the Witch King hasn't happened yet, so in theory the Barrow Downs can't exist. But we do have some undead, some necromancy stuff, which is what Sauron has done. Could be Mirkwood? But it could just be like some sort of like setup to Sauron building a base of operations outside of Eregion. This is, I think this is the queen or someone, because these are moths.
The worms his way inside you.
Oh, well, no, the stranger banished them. I don't know what that is. The moths obviously make me think of the eagles, but so they might be trying to do some weird manipulation here. I don't know yet. And what did it?
The worms his way inside your mind.
Yeah, that's about Sauron. These roots, I'm not quite sure about what they could be exactly. I mean, like, they're mystical. Could be the Ents, could be Fangorn, could be Mirkwood. I don't think it's meant to be anything super specific. I think it's more meant to just show Sauron's magic.
The crest of him slithers in.
This, although that kind of looks more Linden elf-like, so that's kind of interesting. That is I think what they're leading up to is the siege of Eregion. So I'm assuming this is just the orc army marching through the woods of Eregion, trying to get to Ost in Edhill, would be my guess. This is Celebrimbor probably seeing Sauron. This is either Sauron. This is either Sauron like coming through the doors, be like, "Boom, Sauron, surprise," or it's Anatar, be like, "Oh my God, who are you?" kind of thing.
I think it's been here among us all along.
Yeah, joke's on you. You already know who it is, but you pretended that you. So this is where I get concerned, though. This is where I get concerned. So great, he has long hair. We're back to like Anatar form. Love that. Except, how is this supposed to fool anyone? He just has long hair now. You already know that Halbrand was Sauron. Are we still going along the lines of like Galadriel found out and is too ashamed to tell anyone? Like, and I don't find that really believable at all. So I hope that's not the case. But then I'm still confused on how this man right here confuses everyone a second time. Or is it just, are we going down the Superman Clark Kent route of, I'm Clark Kent, I am Superman, I am now Clark Kent again. Of like, long hair, oh, that's not Sauron, that's Anatar. And then his hair goes away, it's like, oh my God, it's Sauron. Like, I don't know. I'm a little bit worried about this. Also, I think that previous shot is Aragian. This is interesting. So, two thoughts. Either this is just a random, like, sea drake creature thing that exists that just exists in the ocean. And this is, what's her name? Queen Regent Marin, I think. And she's like another one of her visions. Otherwise, my only other theory is this is actually Amazon's take on the Watcher in the water. But then I don't know why Marin's here. But those are just the first two thoughts that come to mind. It's cool.
Every soul in
Disa.
Middle Earth is in peril.
Rocks falling. This could easily be Balrog, which I don't know if they're going to get to yet. But this could also just easily be mines collapsing. Okay. So, two quick shots there. Let's go back a little bit more. Numenor, probably people fighting over, or like people are being taken away, because Sauron still has to go to Numenor and kind of like persuade people, but I think more of that's later, so we'll get into that. I'm assuming this is a vision. And it's her seeing her brother. Unless this is just her being upset at like whatchamacallit? That Aragian's being destroyed. Darkness will bind them. That's Numenor. Or it actually could be Lindon, actually. Never mind. Darkness will bind them. We got the three rings. Okay. And this is my other big concern that I have, and I have no idea what's happening with this. So, Sauron made the Elven Ring, or the 9 Rings of Men and the 7 Dwarf Rings before the 3 Elven Rings. He made those with Celebrimbor. Then, when it was revealed that Annatar was actually Sauron, Annatar was the one that was helping make the rings, Celebrimbor made the 3 Elven Rings secretly, I guess, or without Sauron. This is what pissed off Sauron to then attack Aragian, in that you can't make rings without me, or the rings can't be made without my influence. I have to make sure that I find these elven rings so that I can't be overthrown or whatever. That's kind of what happens in the actual lore. I don't know how any of that is supposed to happen now in the Rings of Power. So, like, I guess, yes, he's coming to Aragian to now take the 3 rings, I guess, which won't happen because, or shouldn't happen because Círdan, who we haven't seen yet, Elrond, and Galadriel all get the 3 rings. But then, obviously, Círdan's goes to Gandalf. So I don't know how... He's not going to take the rings, so they have to escape with them, but they're going to be the incentive to, I guess, why he attacks. But then do we even make the other rings yet? Which is also really confusing to me. Like, is he going there to make the rings, like the 9 rings and the 7 rings, and then his plan doesn't work because they find out that he's Sauron? He's like, oh man, you guys remembered I'm Sauron? And then comes back later and then makes the rings without Celebrimbor? I don't know. That's all really confusing to me still. That's Lindon. See, like, this could be one of the rings. It's a little bit chunky, but it could be one of the rings. But then, like, what? So are we going to see him make the rings? I don't know. I feel like they're trying to imply that this is one of the 7 dwarf rings, but we haven't ever seen them gifted it yet, and we haven't seen them be made yet. Arendir doing elf things. This is cool. Obviously, this is Numenor, and it has a very similar shape to Minas Tirith, which with the giant protruding section coming out, and if this is Minas Tirith, Denethor would be running on fire and jumping off. Numenor is very smart, and they have a waterfall, so if their king does decide to light themselves on fire and try to run away, he's safe because there's a waterfall. The similarity is really cool to see, and that's why Minas Tirith is built the way it was, is because it was kind of as a reminder of what Numenor looked like. They were built by the same people, so it all makes sense, and it's just really cool to see that. Love seeing the eagle. Love that. I think there was 2 or 3 eagles that looked after the mountains of Numenor, so to speak. So this is kind of fun to see. I do like that part. What scares me is this guy right here. Arizon Farron, his name is really long and complicated. I can never remember it. But anyways, this guy is super important, where he's essentially the ones that lead the rebellion of Numenor against the Valar and the elves, and essentially like the good humans. He is what leads the he's what leads the people to become black Numenorians alongside Sauron. Sauron is supposed to show up in Numenor and then convince this guy here that they should turn against the Valar and the elves and all good, essentially, because how he does that is beyond me. But Sauron, he's manipulative and deceptive, and he's good with his words. So this guy falls for it, and he becomes a leader kind of the Black Numenorians. What I find suspicious, though, is this shot here. Did he convince the eagles to work with him? Which is really suspicious, and I don't know if I can get behind that concept just yet, only because the eagles are so connected to the Valar, and they're basically like the equivalent of Gandalf spiritually in some ways. So the eagles being convinced to turn against the Valar is a little suspicious. Or is this eagle just here to kill him, which would kind of make sense, and it goes wrong? Or is this guy, did he summon the eagle, and is he then this is kind of like a demonstration of like his power that Sauron has given him, and he's now just about to kill this eagle, which I kind of like that a little bit more, and that'll be kind of fun. And it's sad, and it'll be super sad and dramatic, but I kind of like that. I hope that's what's happening here. Isildur's here. He has to be here. I don't know why Amazon tried to play with the is he dead thing plot in season 1. He's not dead. He can't be dead. He cuts Sauron's hands off. So we get a reveal of, he's still alive, but like we know he's alive. So that was really weird with season 1. But we see him. This has to be the Siege of Eregion then. It's not Lindon, because we got trees, mountains. I mean, I guess it could be the Grey Havens. And then like I think this is supposed to be the Siege of Eregion though. Yeah. And then we still have Adar, who's played by a different actor this time. Is he still on his crusade to kill Sauron? We got the Stranger and or aka Gandalf. Yeah, that's the Stranger. That's Gandalf. Because we're in a desert-y area, I want to think. Well, I guess they said he was marching east in season 1. At the end of season 1, he was going to go east with the 2 Harfoots. So he's going to Rhûn, and he's supposed to gain power power there, my immediate thought is they're sending him to Rune, where he's going to meet the two blue wizards, and the two blue wizards are going to teach the stranger who he really is, which is Gandalf, and in doing so, he's going to gain a bunch of power so that he can be the one to fight Sauron. That's kind of my immediate thought right now. So he's just fighting something. He's getting caught up in some desert storm. We get a shot of Galadriel fighting things. We get more fighting Galadriel, which is kind of what the fans wanted. Random explosion from the siege. Okay, so this is now still time. I'm assuming this is still part of the siege of Eregion, where we're now at. So Sauron has arrived to Eregion. He's captured Celebrimbor. I'm assuming we're going based off the books here, because that's all I have to work off of. 'Cause Amazon could do anything, but I'm assuming we're going based off the books. So Sauron has arrived. He has basically destroyed Eregion for the most part. He's captured Celebrimbor. Elrond and the elves of Imladris and Lindon, or no, I guess Lindon, because Imladris isn't established just quite yet, is coming from the north, and Elrond is supposed to help Celebrimbor and the elves escape because Eregion's been destroyed, but he gets there and Celebrimbor has been tortured and basically hung as a banner. And then this is where Durin and the dwarf army would arrive from kind of like the east from Moria alongside, well, in the books it's Celeborn and Galadriel, but I'll get into Celeborn later. And they would fight Sauron, but ultimately still lose, and they were forced to retreat. But the dwarves are there as like a distraction, kind of, to almost aid the elves in escaping. So Elrond takes what survivors he can, and then they flee north and establish Imladris. That's what I assume this is. Okay, how many rings is that? Hold on. We're going to go super slow motion here. Playback speed like 0.25. I'm going to mute it because the sound's going to be really gross. Okay, yeah, we got that. We got Galadriel shooting things. Two fires, cool explosion. Elrond leading the charge into Eregion. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I think there's 9 here. So that looks like Celebrimbor. So I think there's 9 rings. Is he making the 9? Is this where he's being, is that the way they're doing it? Is Sauron arrives to Eregion and tortures Celebrimbor and forces him to make the other rings? And these are like 9 rings that are being tossed into a fire to be melted down and be made into 9 rings of men? That's my only theory with this. Okay, we'll go back to normal speed and we'll turn the sound back on. Let's just make sure there's no... Right, so Celebrimbor has already been tortured and dismayed. I'm assuming these elves have just arrived with Elrond, potentially, or they're just elven guards. Then, like, we've come to save you, and then Sauron's gonna kill them, and this is where, like, he finishes off Celebrimbor, basically.
He's Sauron.
He's Sauron, but we already know that. This is interesting. I don't know if this is like just a thing that they created to force for the logo, basically. I know people are going to say that this looks like Barad-dûr, and I would believe that if they didn't already explode the volcano, because there is kind of like a theory that Mordor, before it was Mordor, had many different regions, kind of like what we saw in Rings of Power, where there was the first season where we had the Southlands, right? So like a farmland. There's Nirn, which has the big lake. So it's a little bit more like tropical-esque. And then there was a region that was even other games have done this too, very cold and snowy. Kind of more northern Mordor, so to speak, like northeastern, I guess. So like I could see that still being, and then that's kind of the section where Barad-dûr's made close to. So like I could see that. It's just we've already exploded Mordor with the volcanoes, so the snow just wouldn't exist, and it'd be weird to be like, I'm gonna turn it into ice and then burn it anyways. So that's kind of odd. I actually think if this isn't just a thing that they created for the logo, which very well could be, and that's okay, I actually think this might be Carn Dûm, and he's making a citadel essentially for the Witch King. That's what I think this is. Which is cool. But yeah, let me go to this. Yeah, so I don't know. Oh, right. Celeborn. And my concerns for what is supposed to happen with the Rings of Power. Or I guess what I need. If we don't get Celeborn, we don't get Galadriel's daughter, and the other Rings of Power aren't made, I'm going to be very confused and very concerned for the overall story for Rings of Power as a whole. We need Celeborn this season. We need her daughter this season, and I think it's might be too late for the daughter. Well, I guess I shouldn't say we need them this season. We need Celeborn this season if they're trying to go back to the lore, because after the siege of Eregion and Elrond and the dwarves all show up to help, and then Elrond flees, and then the dwarves flee back into Moria, or Khazad-dûm, I guess at the time. That's where kind of Galadriel and Celeborn are now starting to further establish Lothlorien at this point. Which potentially that the woods that with the Barrow-wights that we saw, I'll call them Barrow-wights or undead, that we saw in that one shot, that could be in Lothlorien actually, now that I think about it. I think this is a potential to be Lothlorien. This could be Lothlorien. And she's establishing Lothlorien here with I guess these elves. Could be Lothlorien. It's a theory. But it could just be outside of Eregion or Mirkwood still. But yeah, anyways, so we need to see Celeborn, because Celeborn and Galadriel establish or have already kind of built but are expanding more Lothlorien after the siege of Eregion. So that needs to happen, and and the reason why we need her daughter, because if they don't show her this season, it's only going to make things more and more confusing, is the fact that Galadriel and Celeborn's daughter marries Elrond, and their child is Arwen, who then marries Aragorn. If you remove Galadriel's child out of the equation, then we don't get Arwen, and Aragorn doesn't have anyone to marry, and that's a whole lot of lore that's being messed up. So, and we need her, but if we don't have her soon, it's going to make it really confusing, because as weird as it is already by Tolkien, if Galadriel has a daughter, that's not born yet, and it gets born later, like season 3, season 4, whatever, that's going to make it really hard for audience members to get behind Elrond years later marrying this baby / child. So, which, like, lore-wise might actually kind of be a little bit more accurate, because elves are just weird and they don't age, so it doesn't matter to them, which is fine, but, like, it's gonna make it really hard for audiences to get behind that. So I really want to see her daughter and her to be almost the same age as her to some extent, or, like, at least, like, maybe look like a teenager to make it a little bit more believable. Maybe she's captured with her dad, Celeborn, and she saves them. Maybe that's what the shot is, where she screams and it's all red in the background. I don't know. We're going to need that. But yeah, so those are my concerns. That's what I'm wanting. I hope that the theory makes sense. I have hopes. I want to believe that they're doing better, and I want to believe that they've listened to the fans, and I want to believe that they're making really good decisions on fixing everything that they've kind of messed up. I really hope they're doing that. I don't want to hope that that's the case. Nonetheless, I'll still watch it, and I'll still do the reviews on it and give my thoughts and still talk about it, because, well, for those that don't know, I made a show. It's on my YouTube. It's on TikTok right now. I made a script and I submitted it to Amazon, and we went back and forth on it. They asked me to make some changes. I made some changes, and ultimately they decided to not bring me on, and they made Rings of Power. They didn't want my story, because they wanted to make Rings of Power, which, fine, whatever. But my story did have a lot of similarities to what this... Well, I guess I have the Siege of Eregion in it. Even though it's about the Dwarves of Moria and Balin's expedition to Moria, there was this episode where I did talk about the Siege of Eregion, because it connected. It was very important. It's still an important event to the dwarves. So I'll be curious to see how much of that they used, or if they just completely abandoned it altogether. But yeah, so I did do that. Amazon didn't want it, and they made Rings of Power. So if you wanted to get my story, it's on my TikTok and YouTube. But yeah, so those are my thoughts. Those are my predictions. I hope you enjoyed. I'll keep talking about this as we get more and more info. Yeah, thanks for watching. And the next episode of my Balin's Expedition show will be up later this week. I'm going to work on it after this video, and we'll get it up either Thursday or Friday. It'll be uploaded on YouTube and TikTok. So yeah, stick around for that. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.